All right. So, hey everyone. Oh, happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday morning. I've got my coffee here. It's getting a little cold, but yeah, that's fine. At least it's still coffee. I've never been a fan of iced coffee at all. I don't like it. Coffee should be nice and hot. But warm coffee, if it's good enough, is tolerable, right? Okay, so, yeah, today I am gonna be doing some Illustrator. And basically what I'm doing, I'm going through my schedule that I made up in my last stream, which is, let's pop it up here. So if we look on my Behance page, I've got my live streaming schedule right here. And, you know, I'm not like completely committed to everything, like things might flip around a little bit, but yeah, today is May the 12th, and we're doing vector extrusions, which is a fun thing. So all of these are based off of what I need to prepare for some demo materials for the fall. And yeah, we're gonna go through these. So I'm kind of doing double duty, or killing two birds with one stone, or whatever you might call it, by using my streams to also prepare materials for my teaching, right? So two things at once. Efficiency works out really well. Okay, so here we are inside of Illustrator, and what I'm gonna do is I think for this I'm gonna start creating a bunch of shapes, right? So basically what I would want the students to do is to go through and create something like an ellipse, and then use gosh, I don't know, like some text on there as well, maybe their initials, to create some sort of a piece of 3D branded graphic design materials for their own use. So let's go out to fit on the screen here, and the first thing I'm going to do is just draw out some background material. I don't need any stroke here. Just draw out a nice big rectangle that I can then use to serve as a background for this. Let's go 100%. So here we are in our fill, and let's see here. How do I want to manage this? Put a gradient on there. I'm going to make it a radial gradient. And of course that looks like garbage, so we need to fix that. What I'm going to do is choose this here, and let's go to our colors, and something kind of violet, pink, red might work out. And for this part of my gradient, I don't know, let's try some different stuff. I think that's going to be good. Let's offset this a bit so we've got more of the purple color in there. Oops. And let's fit on the screen again. Actually, let's zoom out quite a bit. So how is everyone today? Hey Matthias, how are you? Hope you're well. I've got to resize my browser window here for when I monitor things. I wish they had on Behance, if you've ever seen the sort of preview, the dashboard where you get to interact with people, the chat is like way down at the bottom, like way below where the video preview is, so you have to kind of like keep on scrolling up and down to see anything. It's not the best, but I am sure that they are aware of that. I know they're always making little improvements on things. There we go. That's a nice background there. So let's go in 100% now. And I'm going to just rename my layer 1 to BG and lock it. Let's create a new layer for my content. I'll just call this 3D. And inside of here, this is where I'm going to start building out my 3D content, my extrusions. So this is something, you know, I don't even know when exactly Illustrator started getting tools like extrude and revolve and things like that, but you know, when I first started using Illustrator, it was probably back in the year 2000 actually. So when I was in graduate school, we used Illustrator in my first semester of graduate school in sort of like a studio design class, and yeah, I was very intimidated by it. And you know, strangely enough, like a lot of my students, a lot of them actually are more into Illustrator. They find it easier to use than Photoshop, which I'm kind of like the exact opposite. I came from a photography background in my undergrad, so you know, I was much more used to Photoshop and just the idea of bitmap images and photographs and things like that. So I had a much easier time with Photoshop than I did with anything else. All right, so here we've got our little background image. So I'm thinking like for this, we're gonna have like a disk, and then I'll put my initials in there, and that'll go for a nice little graphic that we create with the extrusions. Make it look really three-dimensional, right? All right, so let's see. What do I want this to be? Yeah, that's cool. Nice blue color for my stroke. I don't really want a stroke on here, so let's cancel that out. And now I need to decide. Oops, stop it. I need to decide on the typeface I want to use for my letter forms. Yeah, so this is a new time for me as of last week. This is the second time that I've done my stream at 8 a.m. Pacific. So that's 9 a.m. Mountain Time, which is where I am. I'm from Colorado, between Boulder and Denver. All right, let's go ahead and put in a J. And I'm gonna just kind of like choose my typographic properties here for the J, for my initials. And once that's done, I'll just duplicate each one. That's sometimes easier than laying them all out at once, right? So let's go to my Creative Cloud, my Adobe fonts. Oh, I've been using this. I used this last semester when I was teaching a bunch of stuff. Like, we always go to Adobe fonts and pick out a font to use. So Bad Type is something that's been kind of fun to use. It's a real kind of chunky font. And it is an Adobe font, so if you've got a Creative Cloud subscription, of course you'd be able to use that, right? So let's go 150 on this. And for my fill, I don't like any of these colors, so maybe I'll just pick something else. Brown is not my deal. This is like way more colorful than I usually make anything. either on Behance or otherwise. I'm usually a very sort of like, you know, keep things like shades of gray, black and white, with a little bit of red here and there maybe. So this is different. Let's go ahead and go with this orange color, but maybe I'll tweak it a little bit inside of here. So anyway, what's everybody up to today? For me, this is, you know, my, I'm a 9-month faculty with CU Boulder in Boulder, Colorado. And I'm off contract right now. So that means I've got normally a lot of free time. However, I did take on what's known as a Maymester class, which is a 14-day class. It's like 3 hours every day, generally. And I teach all the Creative Cloud apps to advertising, PR, and media design students. I've got about 50 students right now signed up for this class, and we're on day 3 today. So after I'm finished this Behance stream, I get a little break, take care of some other stuff, and then I get back on Zoom and not Behance and do some teaching. So, all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this and just change each of these. So my initials are JRL. I'm gonna use all 3. Let's arrange these in an interesting way. And bad type is actually pretty neat for this, right? Because the letter forms are, that R is way too big, are, you know, very unique. They're very variable. Let's expand that. That looks pretty good. That L kind of stands out, but oh well. Oh well. What are you gonna do? I mean, I don't know. Actually, that might work out if I do something like that. Well, these are all creative decisions that we have to make, right? So let's go ahead. That's pretty good, actually. I like that. It's not too bad. I mean, bad type is a weird font, right? So it's gonna look a bit chunky and strange. Hey, William, how are you? So we got Matthias and William here, 2 AELs. So welcome to you both. And you know, I should mention, let me try to find it here and I'll share it. I should mention an event that's going to be going on this summer. So it's a creative digital skills camp called How to Teach. It's going to happen in July. Let me paste this into here. Hey Vikram, how are you? Yeah, so check that out. This is gonna be a very cool event. And I'll share it on the screen here too. So yeah, it's in July, and it's a bunch of people who are either AELs or otherwise, you know, affiliated with the Adobe education groups and communities. And what we're gonna do, it's an intensive set of courses, and you can see all of the different applications that we're all going to cover. So we got Illustrator, Animate, XD, Premiere Pro, Photoshop, InDesign, After Effects, and Character Animator. So lots of cool stuff. Give it a look if you're interested in doing some professional development around creative software this summer. That's gonna be a cool event. I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm gonna be teaching the Animate section, and yeah, it's gonna be cool. So, all right, now that I've got these, to simplify things, right? I'm actually going to go ahead and sort of combine all of these different pieces here. So let's go ahead and just select all 3 of these letter forms and then create outlines from our quick actions. And I love having what's it called? Quick actions inside of the properties panel here. It's very neat. It's very nice to have this stuff available. Oops, let's kill this one. I don't need that there. Come on, buddy. Oh, look what it did. Silly, silly, silly. Let's go ahead and... Oh, hey, Chris is here. Hello, Chris. How are you? And Mary, hello. Mary waves. I wave back. Awesome. So yeah, let's go ahead and do some Pathfinder stuff here to get these guys taken care of, get my appearances exactly like I want them. And here we go. Pathfinders intersect. Oh. Do I have both of these selected? Yeah, no, maybe. Oh, look. See, this is great. So, for the longest time, too, like, you know, Illustrator did not have a properties panel. I remember at Max, it must have been probably like 3 or 4 years ago now, when they introduced, like, hey, Illustrator's getting a properties panel. And it's like, oh. You know, I kind of always figured, you know, when Adobe acquired Macromedia, that they might go through and, you know, add some of that stuff, like the properties panel, which was so prevalent across all of those applications, and still is to those that remain, as other applications inside of Creative Cloud. Yeah, don't turn on the news, Chris. It's not good. You don't want to turn the news on. Actually, a lot of the news lately that I've seen has been really, really good. Like, we got, like, at my university, we got some really good news in terms of the pandemic response team. And, you know, as we're easing restrictions and everything. So our university is mandating vaccinations for students, staff, and faculty in the fall, which is really good because that means that basically if everybody's vaccinated, we can do away with everything, right? All the crap we've been dealing with for the past, what, 2 years? I'm sick of it. Everybody's sick of it. So, you know, of course we want to do it correctly, and I think that we've been doing it correctly. So I am thrilled about that, like, for real. Absolutely thrilled that we're going to be able to get back to, very much back to normal soon. There we go. Let's group those guys. There they are. Whew. All right. So I've got here in my 3D layer, I've got a little ellipse for the background, and then I've got my group here. Let's go ahead and start off with the ellipse. I'm going to select that. And if we go to Effect, we can do some 3D effects. And we've got 3 different effects here. And they're all kind of, you know, nice to use. What I'm gonna do, I don't know. Let's just look at some of the others first. I'm gonna use extrude and bevel for everything really, but here's revolve. If you've never used any of these 3D effects here, oh goodness, I've still got my one up top here chosen. That's gonna look really weird. Let's click on my ellipse, and again go to Effect, 3D, and Revolve. Yeah, so you can see we made like this cool donut. It basically takes like the slice of whatever you have and just like revolves it around itself from a particular angle and point and so forth. So if I go ahead and adjust this, we can change how this revolve donut kind of thing is working. And of course, any shape that you start this with is going to look different, right? So because I used a circle, it's going to revolve around and do that sort of thing. But that's not what I want, again, for for this particular object. I want to just extrude. We're doing extrusions. I just wanted to show this in case you never seen it. So that's revolve. It's really cool for making things like a wine glass or a chess piece, or anything that you can sort of sketch the side of it and then revolve around. So I did a 3 a.m. Sort of like a talk with Claudia, who's another AEL. We were both presenting to a set of students in Spain. When was that? It was like last week or something. I don't know when it was. I think it was last week. Like Friday or Thursday or something. It was really fun. And it was for the Adobe Education team. And we were talking about XD. But Claudia actually, created a little wine glass out of that particular item. And a lot of people don't know it's here, right? 3D Revolve. You can make some neat stuff with it. I always think of it like shop class, like woodworking class. We used to have a lathe, right? Or a set of lathes inside of shop class. And you'd take like a big log or a piece of wood and you'd bind it to the lathe. And then there'd be like a guard in front. And you'd use it's not a chisel, but it looks kind of like a chisel. I don't know what the technical term is. If anybody knows, let me know. But you'd basically use it to remove pieces of wood as it revolves, right? Very, 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 very quickly. And you keep your fingers away from it because you don't want to lose your fingers. And, you just dig into it and it removes stuff. And you can make generally we would make lamps. So we would make like a lamp stand, a lamp body, hollow it out with a drill, and then, wire it up and stuff like that. That was fun. That was probably like 6th grade or something. So I'm kind of talking way back here. But yeah, there's revolve. There's also rotate. And if we choose rotate, you can see it's basically like if you think about, just shapes kind of in space and just like a card, here's a really old card when I used to work at the University of Denver. This card is probably from oh gosh, yeah, it's got their old logo and everything on it. So yeah, I used to work for the University of Denver, and I've got all these cards from the years, and I use them for things like bookmarks and things like that right now. So thanks for that, DU. But basically, yeah, this is what it does. You take a shape. So if this is a rectangle, just moving the rectangle in space, like I'm doing with my hand right here, that is what this 3D rotate does. It just rotates everything in 3D space, which can be useful for different things, but in the case that we're looking at here, not as much. So what we do want to use this for, we want to do extrusions, right? So let's go ahead and choose that third person. Oh yeah, I've got so many old cards, and I've got boxes of them because every time my title would change or stuff like that. Oh, goodbye, William. Thank you for showing up, and have a great class. Yeah, it's I've got so many boxes, and I keep on stumbling upon them, and from my job now at CU Boulder, University of Colorado Boulder, I have cards that I got when I first joined, which was almost 2 years ago now, when I joined the faculty there, and yeah, I don't, those are just in a box. I don't really mess with them that much. I found as faculty, I don't really need cards at all. When I was at DU, I was primarily a staff member. I was a software engineer and designer, and I would need cards all the time for stuff. I don't need them in my current role, which is really weird to me still, but anyway, things are so different. All right, so Effect 3D Extrude and Bevel. This is where we want to be, right? So Extrude and Bevel is cool. You can already see, whoa, that's pretty cool. So what we're going to do, we've got here this extrusion. So basically, you can say like how deep your extrusion is for any of these shapes, and then you can also rotate it. So it's almost like what we saw with rotation, with an extrusion element to it. And of course, if you take the extrude depth right here down to 0, there we go. What you basically get is the same thing you had with rotate, right? But we don't want that. We don't want it at 0. We want it to be, I don't know, pretty nice. Let's see what 120 looks like. All right, 120 is too big. So notice here, as I went through and did that, I now have 3D extrude and bevel in my appearance area of the properties panel. And again, I love having the properties panel inside of Illustrator. I'm still not over it quite yet. So what do we want here? I want to... All right, there we go. So this is top. And I want to make adjustments here. So you can make adjustments by clicking and dragging this cube here. But you can also make different rotational adjustments around each axis with this little dial as well. What I'm looking for is something like... I don't know, 130 maybe? Let's go ahead and pop in 130. And again, this is too much extrusion here. I'm probably going to go down to, let's check out 80. 80 might be okay. Maybe 60. And if you don't see stuff going on, there's this little preview right here. And, you know, you can toggle that on and off if, like, you know, if you've got an older machine that, you know, maybe not capable so much of doing stuff like this, you can always turn off preview and just turn it on when you need it to render it in 3D. Hey, Annika, how are you? Right, so there's my, I think that looks pretty good. So I need to remember what these settings are because I can probably apply them to my letters as well, and that's going to work out. But before I do that, it is called extrude and bevel because you've also got the option to bevel the corners, right? So right now our corners are very sharp. We can choose things like classic bevel, change the height, and so forth. Rounded bevel. That's pretty nice, right? It looks kind of like a cookie. And, you know, I don't like sweets very much, but, you know, who doesn't like a cookie every once in a while, I guess. All right, so let's go ahead and, I don't know, let's play with the height a little bit. So you can see here we can sort of flatten it out. So let's make a little bit of a more flattened cookie. Maybe not that flat though. Maybe 10? 10's pretty good. And then for surface, we've got wireframe, no shading, diffuse shading, or plastic shading. Plastic is going to be more highlights, right? Diffuse is going to be more diffuse. Yeah. So, right on. Oh, gosh. Yeah, Swift 3D. Gosh, I remember that, too. Man. Wow. Yeah. Swift 3D was cool. I remember using that for doing stuff. Yeah, it is kind of like this. You're right, Chris. I get reminded of that too. So another thing, I don't think I'm gonna mess with it unless I need to, because you can really screw things up if you're not careful with the lighting here. But you can change all the lighting when it comes to this. You just go to more options. So more options down here, and you can change the lighting aspect of this. So you got the light intensity, that ambient light, that all over the place, highlight intensity, and so forth. So you can always even go in here and, you know, just put a little extrusion on something, like the background, for instance. I could put some ambient light on the background if I wanted to. I wouldn't necessarily need to have it like, you know, be this big extruded thing. So let's go ahead here and just hit OK. So that's how it looks right now. It's okay, but we can of course do something with our letters too, because we haven't done that yet. So I'm gonna click on my letters. They're there. They're selected inside of my layers panel. And what I want to do is go to 3D, extrude and bevel again, and woo! Now I got 3D type, right? So pretty cool. But of course, I want to have this be just start off at the same as what we had before. So -130 for my, I guess that would be the X axes there, and then we got Y at 0 and rotation at 0 too. Not quite. Cool. So I'm gonna have to fix that, obviously. That looks like garbage. You know, I've been using that term a little too much lately. I've been calling like everything garbage. Like when I'm teaching, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good, but it looks like garbage. Need to expand my I don't have like the best designer vocabulary. I just kind of say, I use the terms that I like to use. Yeah. So let's go ahead and make this a little smaller. Let's see what 30 looks like. That might be okay. And ooh, look at that. Very, very, very shiny. Let's take this down to like 6 maybe. All right, let's go ahead and hit OK there. So now we've got everything beveled and extruded and everything. Does it print? Well, yeah, I mean, you can print it for sure. And look, I can move my 3D stuff on here so it's like more centered, which is what I want to do. Man, it really looks like a cookie. It looks like a personalized cookie. Stupid. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. So now I've got this going, and we can always fit on screen to see how the whole thing looks. And of course, I can select both of these things and transform them if I want to make them larger. Fill up my area here a bit more. So yeah, you can do a bunch of stuff now that you've got this this item transformed, right? So one of the things you can always do is add additional effects to it. Yeah, I mean, it should print just fine if you just like printing things, Mary. It should just print because it's just like you could save this to a PDF even, of course, from Illustrator, and you know, just print it out, and it'll look just fine. You can also, on any of these objects, you know, you can you can just sort of like render the effects on them if you don't want that, and it will you know, what's it called? I can't remember any of the terminology today. Yes, you can print it. It should print out just fine. If you're talking just like a standard printer, right? Yeah, and we can zoom in here and see how these things look. You can see it's pretty nice. Now, if you wanted to, you could render out all of these little pieces here as just like vectors. Because right now, like if you look at it, you can actually see, like if I choose my circle here, you can see the outline of the circle before it was actually rendered. So like if I choose this, oh, here we go. Expand shape over here, convert live shape to paths. So if I do that, it should be paths now. Yeah, so here path. Oh, it's still got the... Well, I guess that didn't do it. Let's undo. I don't want to do that. I can't quite remember. Yeah, I don't remember. But it looks pretty cool, though, huh? Let's think about this. I want to give it some more dimension, because right now it looks like it's just sort of floating in space, right? Let's go ahead. And, for any of this stuff, I just said, more dimension, right? So, of course, you could do things like this inside of Adobe Dimension too, right? But, it's fun to do it in Illustrator as well. I teach Dimension as well as Photoshop and Illustrator, and, when I show... I don't really get into the 3D tools in Photoshop and Illustrator in my beginner class, but I do go into Dimension. So Dimension, in case you don't know, the Dimension team were asked back in December. They were asked, hey, when are we getting M1 support for Dimension on M1 MacBooks? And the Dimension team in February responded to that, and they were like, oh, we're working on it. We're going to work on stuff like that. And the problem with Dimension on M1 MacBooks, like every other Adobe application, can run in emulation, can run in Rosetta. But not Dimension. Dimension will not install an M1 MacBook. And they responded in February. They were working on it, but they haven't responded to any feedback since then. So anybody from the Dimension team, my students are pissed at you. Because a lot of them have M1 MacBooks and they want to use Dimension. So please, update us. All right. So, just a little something that's been just kind of in there. Just, yeah. So, back to Illustrator, which does work on M1 MacBooks. What we're going to do is add some some additional effects to this. So here in my properties panel for my appearance, I can choose another effect. Yeah, and you can also choose the 3D effects from here too. So if I go in, I want to add some shadow to this. So let's see here. Where is my drop shadow? Under Stylize, I have drop shadows. Oh, the blend tool is cool. Yeah, I like using the blend tool as well. Anything that gives like, because like when you first start out in something like Illustrator, it's like, you just have like basic shapes and everything, but like something with the blend tool or something like these 3D extrusion tools, you can like really make things like multi-dimensional, and yeah, the blend tool can affect that pretty nicely too, in more of a 2D way, which is nice, which is always good. All right, so let's put a drop shadow on this guy. Boom. And you can see it abides by the appearance of the 3D, so it's super, super nice. And let's take the opacity down. That opacity is a bit mad. And let's change the blur. I want it to be blurred out quite a bit more. Cool, man. I love working with shadows. I love working with light inside of oh, so look at this. I'm not even doing anything, and it's taking my MacBook's taking some time to catch up, which is kind of ridiculous because this is a 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro, which should be pretty damn powerful. Darn powerful, rather. Well, no. I think damn's appropriate. And, for some things, it's just sad. That's one of the reasons I'm really looking forward to M1 MacBooks. But I need Dimension to work. Okay? Adobe? My students need a Dimension to work, so please get a Dimension working so I can stop complaining about it. So I never have a problem really complaining about things. I used to think like, oh, if I complain too much about this or that, you know, Adobe's gonna get mad, and they're gonna like, you know, they're not gonna want to deal with me anymore. But, you know, it hasn't happened yet, so. Shadows are tricky though. See, I still want to, let's offset this another 20 along the X. Maybe take the blur down a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't look as grounded if it's too far. Yeah, I mean, my hope is they'll fix it just to shut me up and shut other people up. I mean, that would be a motivator for me. I mean, we got Spark on Android finally, right? Spark Post. I complained about that enough, and then it happened. So, you know. Of course, I'm like moving almost completely onto iOS now for everything, so it's like whatever. I'm still on Android though, actually. So I got a Pixel 3 here. It's getting old, so I'm gonna have to make a decision at some point around that. So yeah, that's a pretty good shadow. You know, it's just subtle. So let's go and add a shadow to this guy too. Oh, stylize, drop shadow. Okay, so look here. This is cool. I love it when the apps do this. When they remember, like, the last settings that you had. Gosh, my hair is, like, still wet from my shower. But, it just feels weird. Yeah, I like it when the apps do this. When they're like, oh, I remember, Joseph, what you did for the last shadow. I remember what you did, Joseph. So I'm going to go ahead and, you know, I'll start you off there. And it's like, oh, thanks, Illustrator. That's really good of you. Thank you. Let's take the opacity up on this, actually. 45. Ugh. Yeeky, 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 yeeky. So anyway, in my class today, we're going to be doing Lightroom. We're going to be talking photography and Lightroom, which I always have fun with, since that's kind of what I specialized in my undergraduate work. Oh, that's great, Mary. I'm glad that I never know with like stuff like this. So this is something like all of these that I've got on my schedule are all they're all things that I'm going to be having this group of more advanced students do on in my fall semester class, my more intermediate class with Adobe tools. So I have to look at that. Oh, that's sad. I have to open up my appearance panel proper in order to see the different effects. That's okay. So let's go to my drop shadow here. It doesn't look that great. I'm like, let's go ahead and just set it to 0 for my offset. And the blur, gosh, it's just like, ugh. I don't know, maybe 1. Shadows are so tricky, you know? Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's better. So let's actually, I mean, the appearance panel is super useful, so let's dock that up here with my properties panel. Or I could put it in my layers panel. I usually don't work with a ton of layers when I do stuff in Illustrator. And maybe it's just like, I don't know, the stuff that I do in Illustrator is usually pretty contained. But, yeah, let's change that Y offset here. Yeah, There we go. That helps. Let's rein it in a little bit, though. X. Let's go 35. And 45, maybe? I don't know, maybe we should just make it the same. Yeah, okay. It's cool. Although, yeah, it's good, I guess. Whatever, it's fine. You know, I mean, this is the point where, you know, you're looking at the stuff and you're like, gosh, I don't know. Like, is it done? Is it not done? I mean, for an example project, it's looking pretty good. It's clean. It has a lot of dimension to it. There's that word again, Adobe. Dimension. Yeah. So I kind of wonder in these streams if, like, you know, Adobe's got their Sensei AI. I wonder if they have any of this stuff running through there, like in terms of translation and things like that. Transcription, rather. Like, and they look for certain keywords. Like, they look to see when people are complaining about specific applications and things. It'd be smart to do it, because that is definitely a way to get feedback without somebody having to, like, fill out a form or anything like that, you know? Just listen to them complain on Behance live streams about certain aspects of different products, and then make some changes to those things. Be perfect. So I don't know. I wonder. It's cool, I guess. I just kind of, I don't know about the bevel on this guy here. You know, you can play with all these and see what might work. So that's it with a rounded bevel, just like the cookie. Oh no, they're suggestions, but you know, I'm also complaining. I'm absolutely complaining. So I'm not, they know. Ooh, that looks clean. Let's go ahead and click OK. That's clean. Let's send him up a little more. $26. What was it before? Like 25 or something? $25's good. Okay. Let's deselect everything. Whoa, I did not mean to do that. Oops. Let's go inside here. Let's grab that R inside the group and just move it down a little bit until I can see more of that space right there between the J and the R. Oh no, absolutely. Like, I owe my entire professional career to Adobe and Macromedia, right? You know, whether it's, you know, I mean, whatever, my previous full-time position, my current full-time position, whether it's teaching, whether it's engineering. I mean, I started off my I started off with Adobe software with like Photoshop and Illustrator, right? But I quickly got into Dreamweaver and Flash and Director, right? Things like that. And, you know, it's only just blown up from there. And I'm extremely, you know, thankful for all the opportunities I've gotten. I absolutely love the programs. I love the software. I love the different platforms, even all the dead ones, right? Especially the dead ones in some cases. But yeah, I mean, geez, everything that I've done professionally has been due to this creative software. So absolutely, I am thankful for all of that. Cool. Well, I'm gonna call this done. It's very pretty. I like it, and it does look like a cookie, which is super cool. I'll probably share this on Behance as a project later, as I tend to do with these things. And yeah, Illustrator doesn't really have a like a quick share. I think all the different apps should have quick share. You know what does have a nice quick share is Adobe Animate has a quick share right now. And I think Premiere just adopted it too. Just a little button up here, just quick share, just get it out there. You know, it's really nice. Anyhow, yeah, so let's go back actually to, before I take off, let's see what's on the schedule for next week. What's going on next week? Where's Joseph's schedule? All right, let's pull this over. So right now I'm live. There's a lag here, of course. There's always a lag. So that's why, like, you know, you all say stuff in the chat and I don't really see it right away. Just FYI. There is a lag. So there's my streaming schedule. And branded product creation. Oh, wow. So, yeah. So branded product creation next Wednesday, the 19th. And we're going to use Adobe Dimension. Yeah. So, I'm going to say this is a, what's it called? Not a deadline, like a ultimatum for the Dimension team. You guys get back to me before next Wednesday around what you're doing with M1 MacBooks and Dimension, and I promise I won't complain about Dimension and support on Apple's silicone. Sound good? Yeah, so Dimension next time. Very cool with branded product creation. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and I'll see you all next time if you show up. And yeah, same time, same day. Thanks everyone, and stay safe.